What was the please stop school presentation that you witnessed? Was in a video / filmmaking class in high school. One group of guys did a parody of those Gatorade commercials, where the athlete's sweat is colored like Gatorade, but it was a sweaty guy jerking off. Apparently there was a Gatorade cut, but the teacher just turned that shit off immediately, before it got that far. For 8th grade talent show, 2 girls sang the Mr. Bledel song. Mr. Bledel was a good-looking, recently college graduated teacher that basically was about how cute they thought he was. Even then, it was incredibly uncomfortable, and I remember looking at the teacher's face, and he didn't seem very amused. Not a literal presentation really, but we had an assembly in high school where the students that helped plan homecoming would announce the nominations for homecoming court. It always had a cute little theme, and like a short skit involved. Well, at one point the audio they were using as a cue for the skit failed. They just kind of paused for technical difficulties, but this one girl from the planning committee started singing a random Disney song a cappella while improvising a dance to go along with it, I guess as a distraction from them trying to fix the audio. She kept trying to get people to join in with her, but nobody did, and she eventually just kind of trailed off mid-song and started pouting that nobody would sing with her. Then once they got the audio fixed for the skit, she pouted and snapped the way through the rest of her lines, which made everything even more uncomfortable. The other famous one was when a girl in our class running for student government referenced a hashtag that she was trying to make popular during her campaign speech to the whole school. The hashtag was something catchy about her having a big ass. There was a genuine collective yikes from the crowd when she said it. I don't think she got elected. For a public speaking class in college, we had to give a persuasive speech. One kid did his speech about porn. If he had had a legitimate argument, like sex work is real work, or porn has a negative effect on a person's self-image, the speech would have been fine. We were all mature adults. But all he did was list the different kinds of porn he liked, in detail, with visual aids. The professor stopped him after a few minutes and asked him to explain what he wanted to persuade the audience about. He answered, "Porn is good." I was in a Japanese film class for a credit I needed, and the final project was some open-ended paper where you got to choose the topic, and our Japanese-born teacher told us some story about a creepy neckbeard who did his on Japanese porn, and how no one should do anything like that. Anyways, on the day it was due, the creepiest neckbeard stereotype I've ever seen, who was in my class, presented his long ass cringe presentation on Japanese porn in the class that no one wanted to hear, already knowing the teacher has seen this before and wasn't about it at all. Edit. Just to clarify, his main talking point was about how Japanese people have a greater appreciation for big boobs than Americans. It wasn't some academic treatise on sexual norms or gender expectations in porn or anything. During nursing school, a guy decided to use My Little Pony figures as props to a seminar room of about 100 people. He told the class that he would refer to himself as his pony name for the duration. Don't remember what it was. Also, not that this is relevant, but he wore a black leather trench coat, and it was pretty hot in the room, yet he never took it off. Cringe. Edit. He wasn't a student, he came in to do a talk about epilepsy and his experience with healthcare. We got to review them at the end, and I gave him a good score because he actually had a lot of interesting things to say about his condition, even if it was cringy. Compared to some other stories in here, this is minor, but it was a group project for one of my literature classes. There were 5 people in this group. According to the rubric for this assignment, everyone was supposed to have equal speaking parts. One of the members in this group would just not stop talking. Half of their presentation was just her talking, and she went on about each of her slides for like 5 minutes. The rest of her group members had like 1 or 2 slides each, and she had like 5 or 6. She would also interject into the other group members' parts to add her opinions. The look on my professor's face screamed, "Just shut up already," every time she talked. Student gave a presentation on the need to strap laser beams to deer heads that trigger sonic waves so that the deer are detracted from crossing highways. Context: wasn't the grading teacher, but was asked to observe or supervise the teacher Theme was supposed to be on how to solve a problem youth is facing. X. How to be a solutionary. Student was in 10th grade. I went to school for computer security. In an introduction to computer security course, we had to do a project on social engineering. A student decided that for his project he was going to find a way to gain access to a chosen website. He found a small local business website, identified that the domain was registered to an email address from a local ISP, called the ISP to reset the password. They asked him for his last 4 of his SSN, so he hung up. He found the phone number of the business, so called them, and pretended to be from the ISP offering 3 months free if the person did a 5-question survey. They accepted and answered some BS questions. Then he asked for the last 4 of the guy's SSN, which they gave no problem. He then called the ISP with the last 4, got them to reset the password of the email account. He then logged into the email and used it to get the domain registrar to send a password reset to the email, which he used to reset the password of the domain account and deleted the email. He recorded all phone calls and screenshotted the whole process. As he presented all these, we kept expecting him to say, but that would be illegal, so I didn't do X, but he went all the way. The professor finally stopped him after he said he logged into the domain registrar and told him to destroy everything and never speak of it again. I think the professor was a bit nicer than he could have been, potentially to the point of accomplice, telling him to destroy evidence. An anti-bullying campaign. They spent most of the presentation explaining different types and ways to bully/harass people. Bullying increased in school and everything got 10 times worse now that the students were more educated on the subject. I was once in a group that was being trained to proctor in-person tests in a college testing center, and it included a heavy dose of what to watch for. Same problem, it was basically a seminar in how to cheat better. Both of these examples remind me of reading about Colditz Castle, which was a German POW camp during WWII. They sent prisoners there who had escaped and been recaptured. Their intent was to put all of the bad eggs in one basket so they could be watched more closely. According to the author, who had been a POW there, this backfired big time. Lots of ambitious would-be escapees helping each other, benefiting from collective experience, and so on. He said it was like getting a graduate level education in escape techniques. In high school, a student died in a car accident where she was driving. There was no record that stated she was distracted by her phone or anything, but the school decided to have an assembly shortly after talking about distracted driving and using her as an example, telling the whole school she'd be alive if she was doing what she was supposed to. It's me. I did this. I cringe about it to this day, nearly 20 years later. I was 16 and in high school. My high school was going to do a spring talent show. I wanted to be in the talent show and show off my talents. The problem was, my actual talents are not ones that I could show off at a talent show. So I decided to try singing. I have never sung in my life. I have never had voice lessons. I was in my prime weeb stage and chose an anime song to sing. I didn't know any actual Japanese. I had just memorized the lyrics from hearing the song so many times. Luckily I didn't make it past auditions, but several people saw an overweight girl in a Sailor Moon shirt try to sing Butterfly despite having never done any singing or voice training ever in her life. Nearly 20 years later, and remembering it keeps me awake at night. In 4th year university we had a year-long seminar course of 15-ish students. Our big end of year project was to give a 3-hour lecture on one of the historical figures we'd studied. One guy got up there and was so nervous he blasted through his content in less than an hour without hardly taking a breath. Nobody could understand him. The prof didn't step in to tell him to slow down, and he was sweating so profusely his shirt was soaked through. I felt really bad for him, but oh god. Edit. The class was taken several years ago and had more like 8 or 9 students. The presentations still took the majority of the semester. Brutal.
Thank you for watching only on Reddit. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment about the most interesting story. And hit the bell if you don't want to miss any videos. Until next time.